Welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rook along with Brian Doherty, Total Farm Marketing, and a down day in everything but the cattle market today. And Brian, grains continuing to sell off here today, just like yesterday. So again, did we see more risk off? That was kind of what hurt the market yesterday.
I think you saw a combination of things. I'm going to call it risk off, and the energy complex probably led the way lower, but that
Right.
led the way lower on concern of China demand. The clock on export sales for corn ticks every week, but the tick is getting a little bit louder each week. That we're running behind last year in that about 52. We're at about 52% of last year's sales at this point for same time, so we're way behind. There's time for things to pick up, but they better pick up soon because there's almost so many weeks in the marketing year. So I'm not giving up on the export market yet, but the growing reality is that end users, in particular China, is probably trying to make do and will hold out as long as they can, waiting to see what this southern hemisphere crop brings. So after a good week last week, the market gave up about 8 yesterday and a 15 today. It took last week were gains for about 12 cents. We posted a bearish key reversal on Friday. Came into this week on a sour note and continued that today, I think, with a lot of sell stops that were triggered and a lot of long liquidation today.
So how much technical damage have we done to the corn chart and even the soybean chart with this pullback?
Not much, actually, because corn, as an example, March corn bottomed at the 635 area, rallied to 685. Now we're back down in the 650 area. So you're still within the range, but you're not in a comfort zone. You had good, steady strength recovery into the end of the year. And there's also that psychological thing. Well, after the first of the year, a farmer's going to move grain. They're holding
Right.
grain back for the first of the year. I don't know if there's merit to that because a lot of places will give you your check after the first of the year. But nonetheless, talking to farmers last week, they said the lines were quite long at the elevators and ethanol plants in areas. So I think farmers have been moving. Technically, the market is challenged. It's not over, but I think unless we really see the market rev up on South American weather concerns, it's going to get tougher and tougher to sustain a rally. You can see where the traders are willing to sell rallies, and they sold it quite hard this week.
Yeah, obviously there was some profit taking involved in some of that after the big year-end rally that we have. They rewarded the market, but I guess I wonder how far can soybeans actually fall here before we either start really stimulating demand, or can we fall very far because of the Argentina weather outlook?
I don't think you can in soybeans because you've got soybean meal holding near contract highs, and it's off a little bit, but holding really strong. And that's a reflection of Argentina, the world's largest exporter of soybean meal, committing to soybean sales, anticipating their crop, and also they may be very short of beans if this hot, dry weather continues. The weekend rains are a little better than expected overall, but still, you've got a drier forecast. So you've got to start thinking about penciling in lower yield estimates. Southern Brazil as well. We saw private firm today come out with a little bit of decrease in even Brazilian projections. Now, still big crops and record crops, but maybe the crops have peaked. And when you look at the soybean market, boy, it is a touchy weather event for South America every day. So don't give up on beans yet. I would argue, though, record high prices, excellent close into the end of the new year. At some point, you've got to find new buyers willing to take that risk at new high prices or at very high prices. And that's often what plagues bull markets. You just don't have enough people willing to continue to buy unless there's a real strong either actual catalyst or perceived catalyst. The perceived catalyst would be continued dry weather in Argentina and maybe southern Brazil.
Yeah. And the funds, like you say, if they don't participate, sometimes it's really hard to keep pushing these markets. Okay, let's talk about wheat quickly because you talked about corn export demand being so poor, and that seems to be the problem for the wheat market too, despite a lot of other bullish factors you could argue, including the war and Ukraine not planting as much and poor winter wheat conditions here in the U.S.
Well, you've got all of that, and in a quick way, you've got a drought monitor map that looks very menacing. U.S. crop ratings are very poor, so you do have those fundamental factors. You've got the war, and that's a big mess. Yet you had the speculative money go heavy short bean or wheat
Right.
8, 10 weeks ago. They bought some back, but it looks like they're back at it. the same thing. You've got to have somebody buy it. We're not selling enough wheat on the export market. We're overpriced on the world market. Until we see that come back in line with stronger exports, or we see the export market come back in line, it's going to be tough to see the buyers really jump on rallies in wheat to sustain the rally. They may buy dips, but not rallies, and that's what the market's telling us again.
Cattle market got a big push with feeders the leaders on the lower corn market, obviously, but boxes have been on fire. We've had this higher cash trade continuing to push the market. Do you think we just kind of continue to inch higher here in a very strong bull market?
I do. I think we're in a bull market. I think we're in a supply-driven market. We've got good demand. Inflation concerns me. Economic conditions concern me elsewhere in the world, and probably here in the U.S. We saw Salesforce talk about laying off 10% of their workforce now, and you're hearing some things in the construction business. So those things concern me. I would use put option strategies, try to leave that top side open, limited supply, less than great winter weather so far. You got another system pushing through again this week. I think the market is well supported both in demand and supply.
I would agree. Thanks so much for joining us, Brian Doherty, Total Farm Marketing. That's Markets Now.